Hello and welcome to the Game Line, Wales Online's daily rugby debate show. I'm Ben James. I'm joined by Andy Howell today to look back on Wales's win over Uruguay that saw them top Pool D in the Rugby World Cup.
Fantastic achievement, Ben.
Yep.
To finish top of the group ahead of Australia. You know, if it was a previous World Cups, you would never have expected that. But of course, Wales under Warren Gatland have been on a roll. Six Nations champions, beaten Australia, beaten South Africa, and they've justified their status as a world force during this tournament.
But even this is a first for Warren Gatland, isn't it? He's reached knockout stages before, but he's never topped the groups. First time since 1999. First time Wales have won all four pool stages since 87, I want to say, possibly.
Yeah, I think that's correct. Actually, back in 87, I'm not sure if it was actually you only played 3 matches.
Exactly, yeah, he did.
History has been made, and Wales have booked a quarter-final against France next Sunday.
And obviously, if Wales do go on to do well, they're already in the knockout stages. I can't imagine many people are going to remember this Uruguay game that much, but it was a bit underwhelming, wasn't it?
Oh, it certainly was. People, I think, will look back in time to come and just look at the score and think, oh, Wales won that match, just went for the motions. But actually, Wales made hard work of it. It was only 7-6 in their favour at half-time. The handling was poor. They bombed at least 5 try-scoring chances. Alan May could have had a hat-trick himself, but ended up having a hat-trick horror show. Didn't score a try. And it was only Wales run away with it after making some substitutions in the second half, and I think it was Wales running leading 14-6 with about 6 minutes remaining.
Just a reminder, if you are tuning in, this is the Game Line, Wales Online's daily rugby debate show. Please do get your comments and your questions in for Andy, and he'll answer as many of them as he can. Let's just have a quick look at what comments are coming in. Will Williams sees us get into the final from here. I guess we're going to have to maybe improve a little bit on today's showing, if not the whole pool stage showing.
Yeah, well, you can disregard today's show because it'd be a vastly changed team that plays against France. I admire his confidence, but we are getting to the nitty gritty now. Knockout stage of the tournament. These are one-off matches. This is cup final football, and anything can happen. Nobody's going to roll over in this rest of this tournament. The 8 teams have got through. And Wales will fancy it against France. They won 7 of their last 8 matches against them. But, that's not going to be easy. Yeah,
I'm sure we'll touch on the France game in a little bit later. But let's look at the individual performances from today. 13 changes made by Warren Gatland. A lot of those players would have thought maybe this is a chance for me to lay down a marker. They knew they were in a quarter-final. This is a chance to lay down a marker for the knockout stages. Did any really sort of put their hand up for that France game?
Well, potentially Lee Halfpenny. Depends, because Wales as well have got injuries, so maybe that would help his cause. But I think he showed today, once again, is what a good player he is. And, he's been a top international player over the years. Let's not forget his past exploits with Wales and with the Lions in 2013. Liam Williams has nailed down the full-back jersey, but Halfpenny, he got a fantastic replacement in Halfpenny. He's commanding in defence, reads the game so well, and I actually thought he linked in open. He ran the ball back, but when he joins 3/4 movements and all, he does link quite well with teammates. So yeah, I thought today was about the starting team of all the changes, the influx of those who came in. He was about the only one who really put his hand up. Adam Beard, one of the mainstays of the Six Nations Grand Slam, but of course had his appendix removed and his departure to Japan was delayed. Lost about 10 pounds in weight, been eating double portions to put that back on. But today he looked a bit rusty, so I don't think he'll. I think so. His chances of ousting Jake Ball from a lock position against France probably ended today.
Indeed, we'll go back to Halfpenny because there's a couple of questions I want to ask you. First off, if there is no fitness concerns with John Davis and George North, we've got an all-fit backline. Does Lee Halfpenny get into the starting 15 or even the matchday 23?
I still think, despite perhaps George North's in different form of the last few years, I still think that North has got enough credit to start against the French. Though Warren Gatland may be concerned about it, and of course Warren Gatland is prepared to take these big decisions and be ruthless. if he thought that Halfpenny could do a better job, whether that would be revert to his original position of wing or switching Liam Williams to wing instead of Norton Halfpenny as starting fullback. If he felt that was the course to do, and no doubt he would do it. As we've seen in the past, he wouldn't care about the public reaction. Although, when you look at the comments of public, at the moment, George North has lost a lot of favour with the Welsh public.
Do you think it's wise or worthwhile switching Liam Williams to the wing to accommodate Halfpenny when you look how well Liam Williams has played at fullback in the last 18 months?
Well, I don't see why you can't switch positions for certain situations on a pitch. It shouldn't be that difficult to do as long as the players are communicating, someone's leading it. It wouldn't bother me if Halfpenny went back to his original position of wing where he was right off at Wales when he first came on the scene. You may argue he's lost a bit of pace since, but I think he could easily fit in at wing. I like Liam Williams at fullback because he runs the ball back and he sort of glides past defenders.
Okay, let's look elsewhere in the tournament. Wales obviously know who they're going to face in their quarter-final, but just an hour or so ago, Japan found out that they're going to be in the quarter-finals. They beat Scotland 28-21 in Yokohama. An eventful weekend, I suppose, for Japan. Wasn't sure where this match was going to go ahead, obviously with the typhoon that's hit, the tragic circumstances around that, but the match did go ahead, and they've gone and sort of matched Wales as being the only team with 4 wins out of 4, and that sets them up with a quarter-final against the Springboks. Yeah,
it was a fantastic match today. Some great rugby on both sides. The ball was hardly off the park, and it was just the ball in hand all the time. Japan, they're a dangerous side. They play some great stuff. Really well coached and organised. Know exactly what they're doing. They're such a skillful team. And the clampdown on tackles, high tackles, has actually aided Japan, because players now can more players more often can have got their arms free to put in these offloads, and you've got to hand it to them. Their handling skills, I would are much better than most teams at this World Cup. Okay,
looking a bit further ahead, if Wales get through their quarter final, which I know is not a given, against France, they'd face the winner of that quarter final, Japan against South Africa. On today's viewing, remember that Japan are hosts. They'll be playing in front of a packed home crowd. Who do you think Wales would hold more fear playing against?
That's a good question, Ben, and I know our views differ on this. South Africa. If Wales want to win the World Cup, they would expect to beat Japan. So that's South Africa to me, because they are so physical, so intense. They got such a strong squad to choose from. They were my pre-tournament pick to lift the Webb Ellis Cup, and I'm sticking with them. So I think South Africa got a really dangerous team, and the All Blacks won't fancy them. And if they end up meeting them in the final,
I suppose holistically you'd fear South Africa more, given that they're probably a bigger nation, a more established nation. But specifically, what about Shaun Edwards? Because I personally think that Japan would cause us more problems in defence than South Africa perhaps would. That doesn't mean that they're more likely to beat us. I just think in that one facet of play they would cause us more problems. So I just think Shaun Edwards would be viewing those two teams if and when we get to that stage.
You're right. You know what's coming with South Africa, full-on physical assault. Though they have got some really good players as well. They've got an excellent playmaker in Andre Pollard. Got a couple of good, 2 or 3 really good scrum halves. Pace out wide, and some decent centres. Yeah, with Japan, they're so inventive that they're going to cause any side problems if they get the ball. Enough of the ball. I mean, the key, what Shaun Edwards would want Wales to do is to strangle them and stop them imposing themselves on the game, and don't give them any time and space on the ball. Yeah, they would cause problems for Wales, but Edwards and Warren Gatland would want Wales to really blow them away with power.
Okay, got a question here from John Danta on the Japan game against the Springboks. Can you see Japan beating South Africa? They've done it before.
They did it 4 years ago, but they played them in their last final warm-up match before this tournament, and South Africa did hammer them in Yokohama with the finals taking place, I believe. I just think that the team Japan may have problems with is South Africa more than any other, because of that South Africa physicality, and South Africa can play a bit of rugby. Like, I think South Africa can play more rugby than, say, England can. So England would obviously give Japan problems physically, but I don't think the English backs are as good as the South African backs.
There we go. We've talked a bit about Japan, South Africa there, but let's talk about France, because that is who is up next on the agenda for Wales in 7 days' time, I believe. Sunday morning, very early Sunday morning. I think we'll be working exceptionally early shifts. They'll be playing France, and we're getting quite a lot of questions about selection, about tactics. So Matthew Hughes asks, what type of tactics do we think Gatland should now be thinking of for the French game?
Well, Wales against France under Gatland, they like to keep the ball on the park, and Wales think they're vastly superior when it comes to fitness over the French, which I think has been borne out by results against them. So they will want to tire the France out and do some damage the final 20 minutes. When you look at those 7 wins in their last 8 matches against France, it's only perhaps in the last... You look at those scoreboards and they've been close a lot of those matches. Wales perhaps have won them though in the final quarter. And well, you know, France, despite being really good attacking, they're a bit vulnerable in defence, so you want to take them on and have a go at them and actually use the wide channels a bit.
Indeed. And on the topic of selection, we've talked a bit about the back three. Let's move to the front row. Rhys Carre made an impact off the bench, and we've got sort of conflicting questions here. Albie Thomas says, do you think Carre should start against France? While Shad's partner says Carre made a good impact but not sure he should start against the French props. Now, there's two very contrasting questions. Where do you sit on that spectrum? There's
no way that Rhys Carre can start against France. He's a rookie, international player. He's not a proven scrummager. I wouldn't even have him on the bench against France, because if France are going to beat Wales, they're going to have to do a job on us at the scrum. Why I wouldn't have Carre on the bench is, what if Sonny Gatland to Wyn Jones was likely to start a looser prop? Say he went off after 5, 10, 20, 30 minutes, and then Carre's on there for 50 plus minutes after a scrummage. Wales lost against France in the 2011 semi-final, not because Sam Warburton was sent off, but because they lost Adam Jones after 11 minutes with a calf injury. They had to move Paul James to tight head, and France won that match through penalties which they acquired at scrums. And so you've got to have a solid platform against France. So I would have Wyn Jones starting and Nicky Smith on the bench, who actually did quite well today.
You confident we've seen enough from this Wales scrum in this tournament to get through the next test? It's been feels sometimes it's been one step forward, 2 steps back, isn't it? Sort of.
Yeah, it's improved. I think it's improved during the tournament. And the French scrum has been interesting. It's such a shame they didn't play England this weekend, and then we could have really worked out how good their scrum is, because I was expecting them to demolish Argentina, because Argentina haven't had a scrum for God knows how long during this World Cup, but Argentina actually did very well against them at the scrum. So if France scrummage against Wales like they did against Argentina, I think Wales would be okay. But it depends on what the French are like. You don't know who they're going to pick in the front row. I
thought you were going to the old cliche then.
I'm not going the old cliche. I just think they're really dangerous, and I think there's a danger of the Welsh public underestimating them.
I think we'll be hearing that cliche quite a lot in the next week. You mentioned there that obviously France haven't had that test against England, so they've had a long sort of fallow period without a game. Do we see that helping them or hindering them?
Potentially hindering them, because I think that they would have, France and England would have both been looking to go up a gear in their match. It's a building process, hopefully they want to peak in the final of the World Cup. And if you have a couple of weeks off, sometimes you can lose any rhythm you've got, or you haven't got a rhythm full stop, which I think it gives Wales an advantage, because Wales have had ours. Because I know they made a lot of changes today, but Wales are in a nice winning rhythm, and they were in a tough group as well. So I do think Wales are more likely to be more prepared, because they battle hardened.
There's that word again, battle hardened. That's been thrown about in press conferences and pieces plenty in the last few weeks, and I'm sure it will continue in the next 7 days. I think finally we'll touch on injuries, as people want to know what's going on. Ralph Woodland asks, any news on Jonathan Davis? He was pictured before the match by one of our colleagues wearing a compression sleeve on his leg to sort of protect that knee. The sounds after the match fairly hopeful, if not positive.
Yeah, there was some positive noises coming out of the camp, but I'm not sure if Sean Edwards let the cat out of the bag a couple of days ago when he said they feared the worst when after Davis was injured in the immediate aftermath. But he was sort of talking Davis might be available more perhaps longer term during the tournament, which suggested to me perhaps they were thinking semi-final. He's such a key figure for Wales. They're going to have to do everything to get him on the back next weekend. We saw today, that the importance of Jonathan Davis when he's not playing. Dan Biggar, we understand, has passed the protocols already.
Yeah, he was out doing warm-ups before the game.
Barring a mishap or he's not past it, Dan Biggar will be wearing number 10 against France. I've no doubt about that. And then the George North, we don't know about the condition of his ankle, how serious that was. But I thought today, because Lee Halfpenny was actually doing a goal kicking today, maybe that was a pointer that Halfpenny could be involved in some capacity, whether in a team or on a bench against France.
I know you believe that. You've told me that many times in the last hour or so.
I still can't get through to you though, Ben.
No, you never will. Let's move on to the final few questions. Albie Thomas asks, if we meet the All Blacks in the final, do you think we got a chance against them?
Yeah, but we're getting carried away here. There's no guarantee the All Blacks are going to get the final, mate, either.
Yeah, exactly.
No. They're on course for a clash with England, aren't they? And England actually been, slowly easing away for the tournament. Because we didn't see them against France today, we're still a bit open-minded about England. But England have got the muscle that can beat the All Blacks. A key, if you can stop the All Blacks scoring tries off turnovers, off long-range tries, you're really in business against them, because they are runnable. Now they actually are a team in transition. Can Wales beat the All Blacks? Yeah, Wales can beat anybody left in this tournament. And if Wales get the final, I think the belief will be there, and they've got a really good chance.
It's probably the best time to play them, isn't it? Because that's maybe when the pressure is on the All Blacks the most.
Yeah, and it's and Wales, and as Gatlin keeps pointing out, the more matches Wales play, the more they get on a winning run, the better they get. The longer they're in a tournament, the better they get. Why can't we beat the All Blacks?
A follow-up question from Albie Thomas. This has come just through. Who would you rather face in the final then, England or the All Blacks?
Do you know?
Funnily enough, I think I saw some piece of statistical analysis on one of the All Blacks or New Zealand sites that sort of figures out the percentages of how the teams are going to go so far. Wales are second favourites to get to the semi-finals and the final, but then England still have a better chance of reaching of winning, even though they got less chance of getting to the final, which probably shows you sort of the whole sort of strength of that side of the draw, doesn't it?
Yeah, I would urge caution for Albie Thomas that Wales have got to get past France first, and then South Africa or Japan is still a tough road. Personally, I would like to see Wales play New Zealand. New Zealand to get the final, Wales to play the All Blacks and beat them for the first time since 1953. Wouldn't that be fantastic? One of the best things I've ever covered was the first time Wales ever beat South Africa in 1999 in an all-goal match at the what was then the Millennium Stadium is on the back of the net. So on the neck up. So yeah, wouldn't it be fantastic? Beat the All Blacks in a World Cup final.
I thought you were going to say the best thing you ever covered was Wales beating the All Blacks in '53. I was going to say you're not that old.
No, I was going to say quite. Wales beating Samoa in the Rugby League World Cup.
There we go. I'm a little bit too young to remember all these. A couple more questions. Craig Whitcomb asks, there's always talk about the fitness of this team. Is that a ploy by Warren Gatland, given how Wales have finished the last few matches?
They finished okay today, didn't they? They finished stronger today. Yeah, Wales are right up there on the fitness front. There's no worries about that.
I suppose it's not. Even though they finished on the back foot against Australia and Fiji, that's not really a test. It's not really says much about their fitness.
Did they finish on the back foot though? They were on the back foot like between the 55th and the 70th.
Defended leads.
In the 70th minute. But actually, Wales finished the final 10 minutes of both those matches really strongly. And neither of those teams, Wales pulled away against Fiji, and Australia didn't really. There was that spell up to about the 70th minute, or that Thomas Williams keeping the ball in play, where you thought, God, they might overhaul us. But then Wales actually sort of managed the final minutes really well, which I think is a sign of their fitness. So I've got no qualms about their fitness. Wales are one of the fittest teams.
Absolutely. We'll take one more question, again from John Danta. Do you think it's unfair on England and France's opponent having less recent game footage to analyse, considering the two didn't play?
No, because there's plenty of footage out there, isn't there? From you can go use the footage if you want it.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. So that's it from the game line today. We'll be back again the same time tomorrow. Actually, a little bit early. We'll be back at 12 tomorrow. But until then, you can catch all the reaction from the Wales Uruguay game and the rest of the pool stages and the build-up to the quarterfinals on Wales Online.